Blake has revealed his thoughts on Katie and Greg's fight. Hey guys, welcome back to another Shared News from Home. We finally have some thoughts from Blake on the Katie and Greg drama. But before we get into it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Morgan Wright. Morgan, I feel like this is pretty big, so let's just dive right into it. Blake shared how he's managed to stay confident in his relationship with Katie despite all the drama. He told ET, quote, "It was a combination of things. Katie told me everything prior, all the details, every little conversation. So I wasn't going in blind to anything. Aside from that, I came on the season very, very confident. The first time I met her, I had zero doubts. When I left here, I literally had zero doubts." He admitted that the scenario would have been a tough thing to watch for someone who didn't have the confidence he does, explaining, "I knew it was going to be me. It was supposed to be me. So as much as those things can be cringy at times to watch, I'm also very understanding of the position she's in and being empathetic of what would I do in that situation. I probably would have done a lot of the same things, so I can't be mad at her for that." Morgan, what a confident response here. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I feel like Blake cracks me up because I can literally picture him saying all of these things in his way with his personality. But I do think it's interesting that before the season aired, Katie sat down with him and really prepped him so that nothing was going to take him by surprise. Knowing what we know now, having seen the season, seems like that was a pretty smart decision.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially with all these very dramatic goodbyes with Andrew S., with Michael A., and then with Greg, of course. I feel like giving him a heads up is definitely the best way to go about that situation because there have been couples in the past who like watch it together without talking about it at all, and it ruins their relationships, right? I do think that it's very interesting and we said this in a couple of our other videos. It's impossible to talk about Katie and Blake without talking about Katie and Greg, which to me is a little bit sad because it's being, the happiness of their engagement is being a little bit taken away from by this huge breakup. But the differences between Blake and Greg, I think, are very apparent. He knew it was going to be him. So he was confident. He was able to go through all of those awkward situations where Greg had the exact opposite reaction, right? He didn't know that it was going to be him. So he started to spiral. He kind of snapped and then left. So I feel like, as corny as it does sound, I agree with Blake as to where, like, everything kind of played out the way that it was supposed to. But I just think that's so fascinating how confident Blake was, and he did end up with her, and how unconfident Greg was, and he didn't end up with her. So apparently, both of their intuitions were right.
Yeah, I mean, you are definitely onto something there. It seems like Blake's strength kind of carried him through this process, right? He didn't doubt himself. He didn't doubt the connection he had with Katie. And even at the very end, right, when we saw him struggling with the proposal, if you really think about it, like in the moment in real time when all of that was playing out, I was like, oh my God, is he not ready? How can he not be ready? Is this not real? But all he was struggling with, and he's made this clear in interviews since, is was that the right step for them in that moment? Were they each ready for the proposal in that moment? It wasn't, do I walk away with her or not, or do we get married eventually or not? It was all about timing. And in the end, he felt like the timing was right, and they say they're more in love now than ever. So definitely seems like things worked out the way they should have. Katie actually stepped in. She addressed people's speculation that she still has feelings for Greg based on her reaction after the final rose. And her side is interesting to unpack as well. She said, people don't understand that you're allowed to be in love and happy, but still angry with how someone treated you. In the moment with Greg, I was very sad and I felt like it was my fault. And then watching it back, I was angry. She explained that after the final rose was the first time she got to address the anger she felt and revealed, in terms of closure with my emotions for Greg, that's not there. I'm very happy, but people do need to recognize that you're entitled to your emotions and your anger. So it sort of seems like Katie's not even trying to shy away from the fact that, like, in this very bizarre scenario she was in of being in love with multiple people at the same time, her healing and closure process is also still kind of running simultaneously, right? She's totally in love with Blake. She's very happy in her decision in her engagement, but she still needs to close up the wounds from how angry she was. What are your thoughts on that explanation, Morgan?
Yeah, I agree with her in the fact that she says she's entitled to her emotions and her anger. I think everybody is, but I also think that it is a little bit hypocritical for her to say that and not allow Greg to be entitled to his emotions and his anger. I mean, really, that all stemmed from her reaction to him telling her that she was the one, right? It's not like this came out of absolutely nowhere. One second they were happy and in love, and the next second, he hated her and he started calling her names and all this other. That's not what happened, right? There was definitely a situation that sparked that explosion. So while I do agree with her, she is entitled to her emotions. She is allowed to be angry. I think Greg is entitled to his emotions, and I think Greg was allowed to be angry in that moment too. And of course, they're like, well, it's just the way the Bachelorette goes. She can't come out and say that, Greg, you're the one. Everybody else here is just a time filler. But I think that you can reassure somebody that's not, I like looking at you, or you'll be here next week. Like there was a lot of, she didn't really reassure him in my eyes in that moment. And I know that she said on After the Final Rose, I reassured you week after week after week. But in that moment, he needed her to do it then. And so I just feel like, yes, I mean, I've said it for a third time now. I think everyone is entitled to their emotions and their anger. And in this situation, there's two sides to the story.
Yeah, and I definitely like agree with what you're saying 100% because Katie was so angry at him on that stage, and I do think that she threw out, call them cheap shots, low blows, right? Things that were coming from a place that wasn't really fair, it wasn't really level-headed. I don't think it was communicating even really what she was trying to say to him, right? When you are that heated, when your emotions are spiraling out like that, it's not always the perfect delivery of what you want to say. And I think that she's giving herself some grace there, but not giving him the same grace in their breakup. But again, this is why breakups are messy. This is why these shows are extremely hard. And like to your point, she wouldn't break the rules for him, right? She wouldn't give him that reassurance. She wouldn't say to him what he needed to hear in that moment. But she was willing to break the rules for Blake. And I think that that kind of goes to show that part of Greg's intuition was actually spot on. He sort of deep down knew that it wasn't him. And interestingly enough, in Katie's next quote here, she confirms that had Greg stayed, had that fight not happened, it wouldn't have been him. She says, quote, I remember the daytime portion with Greg. He still seemed a little bit off. I already started to kind of have my doubts. And then with how things went that night, it just kind of solidified where my thinking was initially anyways. No matter what, had Greg stayed, I still would have chosen Blake. So to me, it's like, obviously it's a shame it all played out this way, but Greg was not wrong. His intuition was really right there. What are your thoughts on this revelation from her?
Yeah, it's so difficult, right? There's so many layers to this argument that it's so hard to like ever be clear-headed about it. And I just feel as though, yes, you can be mad at Greg. You can be mad at the way that he spoke to you, the way that he made you feel in that moment. But at the end of the day, like, would you be that mad if you really knew that you didn't love him, that you didn't care for him, that you knew Blake was the one? I don't know. I mean, I can only speak for myself. And I feel like if I was in that situation, I'd probably be like, Greg, I don't even care. I have my
Mhm.
hot future husband. We're happy and we're in love. Would I maybe be angry enough to throw like some subtle shade here and there? I think I probably would want to have my peace. Would I like go that hard, full on yell session? Like it seemed like they were still in the middle of a breakup when really they had been
Mhm.
broken up for months at that point. I don't know. It's interesting how different people react to these circumstances differently.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, since After the Final Rose, Katie says that her and Blake's love only has continued to grow. I think that, in this crazy whirlwind, they did end up together, happy in love, committed to moving on with their lives. Obviously, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be hard for at least a while now to separate the Katie and the Blake from the Katie and the Greg. But just looking at the relationship these two have, their bond, their connection, they say there is no doubt that they are getting married. It's just a question of when. Morgan, in your gut, do you feel like they're going to be a long-lasting Bachelor Nation couple, or is there just too much chaos mixed up in it all?
You know what? I think that they will make it. I really do. I think that Blake wants it. I think that Katie wants it. The only other comparison I have to make to Katie, Greg, and Blake is Rachel, Peter, and Brian. When everyone said the same exact thing that we're saying now about Katie and Greg, about Peter and Rachel. And look at Rachel and Brian now. They've been married for years, they're in a very happy relationship. So, based on that track record, I'm going to vote. Yes, they will make it. I think they'll get married next year. And I think they'll have 3 babies.
All right. I love the extremely specific predictions there, Morgan. I certainly hope you are right and that their happy ending continues for years and years to come. You guys, we want to know your thoughts on everything Blake had to say. Are you here for his confident reaction? And of course, what Katie had to say as well. Do you think that her explanation makes sense? Let us know down in the comments. And if you are not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future Bachelor Nation updates. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the wonderful Morgan Wright. If you want to come say hi, be sure to check out our socials. They are on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.